Good afternoon, and welcome to the Tulsa City Council Public Works Committee meeting. I call this meeting to order. Item number 2, ordinance closing a public way requested by Jamie Skipper, Wallace Design Collective, PC. The requested closing of a certain portion of an alleyway as a public way of the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at 702 South Main Street. Lots 1 through 8, block 174 of the Tulsa Original Town Edition, for the development of a parking garage. Project number 5-3-25-68 in City Council District 4. Who do we have? Hi, Paul, that's who we have.
Paul Zachary, Public Works. This is for the ONG garage, new garage that's going to be constructed. With this project, we do have a sanitary sewer that runs in that alley, and PSO also has an area, and it's described in the document. We're going to maintain an easement for the sanitary sewer. There are discussions about them relocating that. But then PSO is going to be holding an area at 17 feet high and 20 feet wide and below, so that their current aerial lines can still be there. There were some discussions about them burying those, but then with the way the building was designed, they ought to be able to keep their lines in place. But ONG is asking, well, Wallace is asking on behalf of closing that with the property owner. And the building, the alley has been open in the last 5 years, so a public hearing will be required. But we went through all that, the retaining of the easements with PSO and the city water and sewer department. There were no other objections to closing this alley. So.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Have any questions? All righty, moving on to item number 3. Change order number 3 to contract number 137758 between the City of Tulsa and TriStar Construction LLC for project number 2159FRO 315 in the amount of $50,993.90, and adding 185 calendar days for the addition of a new concrete parking lot and sidewalk, Turkey Mountain Rock Yard, CD District 2.
Yes, ma'am. Under the contract, we've got 2. We have ARPA for the city, and then also we had ARPA money from the Tulsa County. The projects that we've built up there and completed, if you've been up on the west parking lot, and then also the one right at the bend of Elwood and 61st Street as it begins the transition, those have been wrapped up. We've got some tie-in work to do. But the new area, the Rock Yard, with the existing pay items that we had, we're having to add $50,993.90 in new pay items for the Rock Yard parking lot, and we're doing that with River Parks Authority at the Turkey Mountain, and we're excited to be able to help contribute to get that Rock Yard area developed. So it's going to really be nice. But I think everybody's been pleased with not driving on gravel parking lots up there at the top of Turkey Mountain. It's nice concrete, and there are a couple of good locations for pedestrians to cross and get into that other area over there around the water tank and stuff. So it's gonna be nice. It's really neat. So we were up there
Nice.
last weekend walking around. So
Okay.
with that, we'd ask for your approval of this change order.
Did you have a comment?
No, it was great.
Okay. All righty, moving on to item number 4. One more for you, Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
License agreement between the City of Tulsa and Jennifer Ann Fronterhouse Larson Trust dated July 19, 2023 for property located at 3456 South Gary Place, Ranch Acres Edition, to install, use, and maintain flagstone walkway within the street right-of-way, City Council District 9.
Yes, ma'am. We received a request. They have a driveway that is just a normal driveway off to one side. This neighborhood does not have sidewalks, continues through the area. They wanted a place for people that were parking in front of their house to be able to step out onto a flagstone surface. But the purpose of the license agreement is not for interference with what we need it for, but any utilities that cut through there. if you, in the packet, there's a really nice picture of it. It's a large flagstone. But it would be expensive if ONG had to cut through there, or water line, or et cetera. So they understand the issue, and we would recommend approval of this. We received no objections from anybody on this.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice,
Yes, it is
actually.
nice.
Keep you from stepping in the mud.
Yep.
All righty, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions or comments? No?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh,
Moving on to
absolutely.
item number 5, ordinance amending Title 11B Tulsa Revised Ordinances, Title Solid Waste Management, Chapter 5, Solid Waste Rates and Deposits, Section 500B, Rates for Collection and Disposal, making necessary amendments to monthly user fees for certain residential collection services, included standard collection services and premium services, and amending service charges for physically limited services and other charges, and providing an operative date of October 1st, 2026. Hi,
Hi, I'm Cheryl Black.
welcome to the table.
And Philip Eakes is here.
Hi,
Hi.
welcome to the table.
Yes, this is the ordinance. We came to council in April, the end of April, April 29th, and talked about the rate changes for TARE. And so this is just the ordinance which would put these rates into effect on October 1st, and some other changes.
Questions? Are we still adding to this?
No, the communications will go out to the citizens in the July bills. So we'll have a stuffer, and then also, since twice-a-week service has been discontinued as of October 1st,
Okay.
we're having letters go out to those citizens specifically to tell them about the change.
Okay. Will that also be on the website, that information? Not everybody receives, I guess, the,
We're gonna be doing social media
Okay.
announcements as well. We're gonna be posting it everywhere as much as we can. We're gonna get with billing also 3-in-1 to, have that information available. We've got flyers and then basically the city life as well.
okay.
So we're gonna try to hit multiple avenues to make sure there's no one missed.
Okay, excellent. Any questions, comments from council? No? Christian Bangle? Oh, Counselor Bangle, sorry.
I think I've sent many emails on where things get left. That seems to be a problem. Placement by mailboxes and in front of driveways and stuff like that. What are we doing to mitigate that?
So right now, basically, we just have to go out and investigate those. With the new contract, we're having the contractor install, basically it's gonna have cameras installed on it. And so we're gonna be able to see, so if you guys have a customer that complains or constituent complains and says, hey, our cart was left out or we were missed or whatever, we can pull that up, we'll have access to their data.
Right.
And look at their screen and say, that truck did drive right by and missed, or that hauler didn't put the car back over there. We can make them mitigate that right away.
Yeah, I find that far and fewer between than I do the complaints of where they get left. So we're asking citizens to put them on the curb to be picked up, and then you have folks that are putting them in front of mailboxes, and that creates another problem where I get a call that the trash receptacle sits in front of the mailbox, so some seniors spend on their mail, so they don't get their mail. Or then they've gotta get out of the car, stop in the middle of the road, move a receptacle in front of the driveway so they can pull in, so. It's not just a once in a while occurrence, I've seen whole neighborhoods where that happens.
I have an inspector that goes out every day and sends the contractor picture after picture after picture of
Okay.
those issues. So we are aware of the issue, we are
Yep, I know you
trying
are.
to enforce the issue, but again, when we get some more, the cameras on there, then it's gonna be more definitive, and it'll be a quicker response.
Yes.
Because you call me now, I have to, if my inspector's already checking through other things,
Exactly.
he's gotta go spend another maybe hour before he gets to it.
Yeah.
Opposed to I can pull it up on the camera and go, yeah, it's wrong right now, so while they're still in that route, we can make them fix that.
That's good, I appreciate that.
Okay, Counselor Gilbert?
Thank you. Yeah, so with the rate changes, are we going to, have you seen an influx of trash reciprocals as opposed to, with increasing recycling carts?
don't understand the question.
So with this going, because I've had numerous, and I know that I've sent you a couple residents to contact. The word's already getting out about the rate and everything, and so changing, especially those with possibly 2 trash carts. So they're changing one of the trash carts in for a recycling cart. So instead of having 2, they're increasing their recycling. So have you,
I have not seen an increase in anyone asking, well, I think I've, like in the last probably 3 or 4 months, only have like 2 come across for extra recycling carts. That's really not a
Okay.
huge
Okay.
ask that I've seen come across.
okay,
You're talking about a swap between
Yeah.
a gray and blue.
yeah,
Well, you
So-
get one recycling cart, one refuse cart, no matter what. But
Right,
then if
right.
you don't, if you choose
Don't-
not to recycle, you can opt out of recycling.
right.
And
But those who have 2 trash carts and that want to turn, with the rates going up, they're wanting to turn in their extra trash cart and receive an extra recycling. So just increasing recycling rather than disposing of trash.
I've not
So,
seen that.
okay.
But with the new structure, you're gonna have to pay $5, I believe it's, I've got the cheat sheet right here. So extra recycling cart is going to cost $5. So if you, even if you
Just
trade
for
one
the
in.
extra cart though, not for
But
the,
if, you get 1 gray and 1 recycle.
Yeah.
One with gray or blue. So if you
Yeah.
decide you don't want a gray, you're still gonna pay that $5 for the extra recycling cart.
right.
Per
On top of
month
the
or
service.
just one time?
What was that?
Is it per month or just one time?
It's per
Yeah.
month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just
But
gonna be
Counselor,
mine.
are you saying they don't already have a recycling cart?
No, they
No,
do
she's
have
saying
to
that-
add.
Two
But
recycling
They're adding an extra cart
Okay.
Yeah, 2
instead of
recycling
having.
carts.
So if they have 2 grays
Where's the
and 1 blue, they wanna get rid of 1 gray and add an extra blue.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
$5.
So,
sorry.
no, so by doing that, so an extra 96 gallon.
It makes sense.
Sounds like a
I
second
thought
grade
they were
math
saying they
test.
didn't have a recycling cart, now they're switching.
Right,
That's kinda what I
Bisley.
thought.
I can draw a picture too.
This is a map.
Okay, so basically,
Yeah.
if they get rid of their
Very
extra
good
gray
now.
cart, which it's gonna go, they're gonna be
It's
paying
free, you can use the
$9.47 with the new contract.
Yeah.
So they'll be saving basically
Oh,
$4.47.
Right,
Or, my fault.
$15.30
Sorry.
with the new contract,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, so they'll be saving $10.30.
Yeah.
so are we doing anything to promote that? I mean, encouraging
At this
residents to?
point, we have not, because we're still, like I said, our first,
Still trying to.
well, our first flyer's gonna go out in July.
Okay,
So that's gonna be our first information that's gonna go out.
okay,
Yeah, one thing I would say we be careful of is, we've had some historical issues of people using recycling carts as trash carts. And that brings our contamination rates up, and we have to pay more for that. So there's a lot of education that's gonna go out in that billing, but I think one thing we wanna do is not have people decide to go that route and then try to use it as
Yeah.
a gray cart.
right,
And so that's where we're, trying to be educational, that recycling is what we want them to do, but then to do it. Because we've gotten a lot more aggressive of pulling carts. And with this new system we'll actually have cameras and we can see what's there. And then that'll allow us to pull the trigger quicker on pulling carts if people are trying to use them as trash carts versus, so.
yeah, so, when someone wants to do that, turn in an extra gray cart, do they just go through the 311 to do that process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you expect a large volume of that happening when the changes come around?
I wouldn't think so.
In my opinion, I think people are gonna keep their gray cart, because right now, the extra bags are gonna go up substantially.
Yeah.
So it'd be cheaper, if you use bags, sticker for your bags, it'd be cheaper to have an extra cart than to go out and buy the extra stickers.
How much are the stickers going?
They're gonna go up.
To
from
$2.
50 cents to $2. It's gonna go
Per
up
bag.
$1.50 a sticker.
Okay.
Okay, are you finished, Counselor?
I think so, but I love talking trash. So there might be some more, who knows? So.
Okay, Counselor Bellis?
I actually genuinely have enjoyed learning the history of, like, I know when you first ran for office, that contract was such a genuinely major issue. So I know you have a rich
No,
history of
it's no
expert.
problem.
Yeah, that was like the spiciest issue of like, what, 2012?
Oh, what, the animals.
2011.
2011,
It was
yeah.
done by the time we got in.
Yeah. I was I was just curious related to the cost, and then you mentioned about like that camera system or being able to pull carts. Is any of that, like, is that, I remember you mentioning that there was that, when it comes to recycling and sorting, being able to use AI to detect like, hey, these materials shouldn't be here, which I know could be cost saving from significant damage happening. Is it a similar mechanism, like with that camera use, that helps determine what to pull, or like, can you tell?
Yeah, it'll
describe
be
a
that
little more?
same, that system will be what they use for all that. I mean,
Okay.
it will, it's like, let's say if somebody that calls later in the day and says, they missed my cart.
Yeah.
He can go pull it up on the footage to see if that cart was even out, because sometimes it may or may not, we don't. With this, we'll have video footage that actually shows whether it was out or not, and that way
And
we'll know,
that's just
did they miss, or
curb
did
video.
somebody forget to put their cart out and then 2 hours later put it out and then call it in as a miss? We'll have video footage that will show that, that we'll be able to,
And,
you
but
know.
that's just capturing like that curbside area,
It's
not like
capturing
a
curbside, but it's also
residence.
gonna capture,
We're gonna have a camera on the tip side as
Yeah.
well, so what's gonna happen is, it's gonna tip. So you're gonna have the initial camera, they see contamination that's easily identifiable.
Yeah.
It'll probably be missed right away. Then once it tips though, the camera's gonna capture and identify contaminated objects, so we can come back and then coach.
educate those folks.
Those folks at that time, if it's blatant, like got a bag of ready mix sitting in there, that's blatant, right? We have people put dead animals
Yeah,
in
we've had-
recycling, that would be blatant, so then that would just trigger us to just pull their cart. Because they're not even attempting to try to recycle right.
I
so
feel
we're gonna
conflicted
pull
by
them.
the surveillance state, but I appreciate the recycling support. But no, so it's literally just seeing trash, just to clarify, it's seeing trash can, curb, and what goes
Yes.
in,
It's,
nothing's.
it's only looking, no, it's only
Yeah.
looking at,
It's public property.
it's only looking
I
at,
know, it's just,
yeah.
and it's, there's, I know, people get asked these questions when you have cameras that are doing things, so I just wanna make sure we understand.
These
where it
cameras
is.
focus on the on the
Yeah.
curb
Just on
area.
the trash,
And
okay.
then what's going in from the
Yep,
top.
yep.
So that'll be, that
Okay.
way, again, what I mentioned previously, then
Yeah.
there'll be a computer system then that will have an AI component that will learn that, and as it, was it 6 months, I think is what they're thinking.
So
It'll-
that it
It'll
should
start
learn.
learning.
It'll start learning what
Yeah.
that looks like, and then it can start tagging, hey, that's contamination, here's the address, go talk to them. And then, like Philip said, we'll try to educate them, and if they choose not to be educated, then we'll pull the recycle cart.
I will flag just
Block
as.
camera for trash.
Yeah.
It's-
I-
yes, that's
I
a good
will-
way of looking at
No,
it.
but I will flag as one thing, because I see this happen in my own neighborhood, that I'll be curious about, or just to, I don't know if other people have this happen in their districts, because of foot traffic of people who oftentimes may be unhoused, they throw things out in a lot of people's, like, trash and recycling receptacles. That happens a lot in, like, my own front steps, where people will go through. So I'm just naming that sometimes it may be from the household, but you may come across where it was someone walking by and kind of just putting stuff in whatever trash cans out on the curb already. I just see that a lot, just
Yeah,
flagging that to
That's probably where
everybody.
the ring camera comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'm wondering
So
how,
many cameras.
Yes.
how long is that information kept?
So 30 days,
30 days?
yes.
Okay, so if you get a complaint, then you can address it right away and
Yes.
then, okay, that's good.
Similar thing,
I
like
wondered what
sometimes a
the
household will
space
say,
was.
my mailbox got hit, you know,
Yeah.
and that way we can then verify whether or not that truck was the one that did that, so.
Okay.
there's-
Yeah, just-
We have the ability to, once we know it's there, we can then download that footage and keep it as a record, and then after 30 days, it's washed from their system, but we'll still have it recorded.
Does the,
That takes a lot of space.
is there a department policy about, like, cause like the police department has their mobile vehicle recording system policy? I'm just curious, cause when you're deploying some of these, this is like a broader thing as we're adopting and using for like the benefit of the city AI technology and more like video type things that you're storing information and data, and sometimes there are sensitive materials or content people throw out in the trash, like, a pregnancy test or whatever. I'm just like spitballing here, but like, I do wonder about, sometimes you do end up needing to look at like whether it's privacy policy, data retention policy, what happens with the video footage policy. I've just seen different cities are tackling that different ways.
The data and video is all the contractors. The only time we would get
Okay.
involved in it is if we have a claim about somebody missing or, something like that. And we would
Okay.
just basically look at that.
And they don't do external data sharing with any of that? Okay, like that's part of the contract, I guess.
Right, it's housed by them and their contractor. We only have access, read-only, just so that if we have a complaint, we can go investigate.
Okay.
Counselor Bingham?
Yeah, so obviously that was one of my concerns about data retention and policies surrounding the security of it. I do like the idea because, as Counselor Bella said earlier, people may walk by a recycle bin and incidentally put something that isn't necessarily recyclable in that cart. But I think that would be far and few than people like me who might not understand fully the rules of contamination. So I'm even weirded out by the idea that when you get a pizza, let's just say, for example, that if it's got any remnants in the box, all that has to be scraped out before you can stick it in that cart. Is that not correct?
Yeah, most pizza places now have a sheet underneath it, so pretty much you just take that
Not the
grease
ones
sheet out.
we go to.
Okay, most of the ones I've ordered from, the ones we got, have a grease sheet that come out.
My wife's cheating me. Great next door.
Yes, they said that you can have some grease remnants on there, they don't want food remnants, but
Right.
it can have some grease on it and they'll still accept it.
Yeah, because that's always a problem for me, is what can go in there versus what can't. Because that's my concern, is being wasteful, that we're have this program, and that I think anything that's associated with that dump has to be totally disposed of. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, anything that's considered contamination, basically, we have to pay to have that sent to basically be hauled off site from the recycling
Right.
plant, and then we get charged a processing fee plus a haul-off fee.
Yeah, and that's
So
my
that's-
concern, so I like the advent of the cameras, so specifically for that purpose, and so, because, yeah, sometimes I need to be educated on that stuff.
And the recycling market's gotten where they really want it to be, you know, we're very lucky in where we're at, that there's a very good recycling market, so TRT has a market for all the things that we are sending to them. You know, you go East Coast, especially West Coast, those markets have sort of disappeared, so they don't really have a market for the recycling, so they're disposing of it in landfills. So it's sort of a, you know, it's not, but that's why it's very important for us to try to keep the recycling clean, make sure that it's going to the markets and that it's getting turned into another end product, where like glass gets recycled to new bottles, or fiberglass insulation, plastic gets into new bottles, and sometimes it's, you know, coats, insulation and coats, stuff like that. So as long as we do a good job of getting that collected and then getting it sent to TRT, and they then process it and send it out, that's the ultimate reuse that we're trying to do with the recycling program. And again, we're very lucky in the central part of the U.S. that there's still a very viable recycling market, where it's not necessarily the case in other parts of the country now. Just with a lot of that recycling on the West Coast used to go overseas, and those markets have all disappeared. And they don't really have anywhere to send theirs, whereas here we do have a market currently.
So overall, is our recycling successful?
Yes, it's successful. I mean, the markets are down right now on a lot of the items, so we're paying more to recycle than we have in the past, but we hope the markets, you know, slowly, you know, there's, you know, they'll go up and down. I mean, it's, cardboard goes up and down depending on the time of year, aluminum cans, all that kind of stuff go up and down. But no, I would say ours is successful, just the fact that two things: one, we have markets for it, and two, since COVID, a lot of areas, their recycling contamination has shot through the roof to the point some of them discontinue recycling because they're basically people treating it like a second trash can. Ours actually hit a historic low contamination rate at our last audit. So I think, you know, through the messaging, we have pamphlets we hand out, we do billboards. I mean, there's any way we can think of to try to market. We're marketing about, you know, how to correctly recycle. So we're trying to do that best we can to make sure that we keep that a viable market and make it where recycling is going somewhere other than into a landfill.
Very good, I appreciate it. I know it's a lot.
So I have a question. How does this relate also with commercial dumpsters?
It has nothing to do with
Well-
commercial.
Okay,
Commercial is, they're just licensed to haul in the city of Tulsa, but we don't have anything to do with that side of it, as
okay.
far as what we're talking about today.
Right, okay,
It's not residential.
right. I just wondered with the disposal, I mean, it's at the 46th Street North location anyway, right?
That's no longer our,
Oh, it's not?
no, so that used to be our old landfill.
Right.
We no longer use that. We have a new contract. We use AEL, American Environmental Landfill,
Oh,
out in
okay.
Sand
Sand
Springs,
Springs currently.
Oh, okay,
which is part of the American Waste
right.
group.
I mean,
Right, well,
our
that's what I
primary
wondered, because
is trash
American
energy
Waste
plant.
actually is
Yeah.
the contractor for most commercial dumpsters, so, okay. All right, well, I appreciate that. Item number 6, we.
I have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm gonna go back to my blue and my gray.
Yes.
Okay, so I
Now
got
we're
it,
up to
I
two.
did get a text message from a constituent who traded in their gray their second gray for one gray and got a new blue.
Yes,
So, but they were not charged for the
Right.
new blue.
currently in this
Currently, that
contract.
is the,
Okay, so that does not start until October.
right,
Correct.
October 1.
So, but October 1, will they be charged for that
Yes.
second gray?
Yes.
Yeah, all the
Okay.
accounts will get modified to reflect what they have in their possession.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay.
Well, I guess they better make the best use of it while they're at it. All right.
I mean, I'm sure that recycling is always being used
Yeah.
wisely, so.
All righty, moving on to item number 6. Is that it for questions, comments on item 5? Okay. Item number 6, we get to keep Cheryl at the table here. Ordinance amending Title 11A Tulsa Revised Ordinances, Stormwater Management and Hazard Mitigation Program, Chapter 2, Stormwater Drainage System Service Charge, Section 202, Rate Schedule, increasing the monthly stormwater service charge rate by 7% from $13.69 per month to $14.65 per month, providing an operative date of October 1st, 2026.
Okay, this was also in the April 29th meeting where we went over, we had a PowerPoint and went over these changes and like you said, it's a 7% increase. And that's effective October 1st also.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate all the information you gave us at that meeting, by the way. It's very informative. Any Counselor Bengel?
If I remember correctly, there's supposed to be GIS mapping that's being done for
Private versus public.
correct.
That's still, it's not a minor
I know it's
call
not.
to do that.
We've
so
been
it's
talking
working
about
out.
this, I think, for the last 3
This-
years.
You know, we finished up our mapping that shows public responsibilities as far as like mowing and general maintenance. So we've got that now. Getting all of the creeks and channels is still, Eric's group, the GIS group is still working on that.
Yeah, because this is pretty significant, especially when we're talking about property erosion, like some areas within portions of my district that have a lot of floodplain, and that border like East Track Park between 28th and 29th Street. There are properties that are worried about the erosion because of that storm water. What do they call those, creeks? Is that how it's defined?
Creeks, channels, but,
One side I think is public, that's maintained by Public Works and Parks. Like there's like a joint thing going on over there. And then the other side, I think, belongs to the development, and that would be private. And I think that's where the real confusion is, and we talked about this all the time. So that's where I want the citizens to be armed about what is their responsibility versus what is public, especially when we're talking about that specific fee.
right, that's still, it's coming. Just
Yeah,
don't have the
because
date on it.
obviously,
But,
the less permeable surface you have, the more you're gonna get charged. So,
and on commercial,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, any questions, comments regarding item number 6? Okay, moving on to item number 7. Ordinance amending the Tulsa Revised Ordinances, Title 11, Public Works Department, Chapter 12, Right-of-Way Occupancy Management by amending subsection 1206A, 3A of Section 1206, occupancy fees or inspection fee and service charge, increasing the amount of occupancy fee to be charged to occupancy permit holders in order to recover each permit holder's pro rata share of the burden of the right-of-way, providing an effective date of July 1st, 2026, repealing ordinance in conflict herewith, emergency clause. There's a lot of occupancy words in there.
Okay, annually, the total arterial right-of-way operating and capital expenditures are calculated and divided among the arterial right-of-way occupants. This year's calculation resulted in an additional 1 cent per linear foot for installations that occupy less than a foot, 2 cents per linear foot for installations that occupy between 1 and 2 feet, 3 cents per linear foot for installations occupying greater than 2 feet. And The resulting annual revenue increase is about $4,500. So it was really close to last year's calculation.
Okay. Any questions, comments regarding item number 7? Oh, you're released. You may be dismissed. Alrighty, moving on to item number 8, discussion with the auditor or his designee regarding a proposed plan and possible timelines for how to accomplish the directives of the recently approved ordinance regarding data transparency and public access. Brought to you by Counselor Bellis. And we have Nathan at the table.
I'll just preface, and Nathan, if you wouldn't mind reminding everyone the policy change that the council took as like just a preface to refresh everyone.
Yeah,
on
it's in the
what-
presentation. if
Perfect.
that's- if
Then
that
yeah,
works.
you
Okay.
just go from here then. It's all
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I wanted to, since the ordinance passed, I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page and get your input as we look at moving forward to accomplish the ordinance and its directives. So I've got a presentation here. Oops, okay. This is our mission for those who aren't familiar with the city auditor's office. It's to be an independent, impartial office dedicated to ensuring accountability, transparency, and efficiency in city government. And so the first question is kind of what does data transparency look like at the city of Tulsa? And let's see here. What I want to do is kind of take you through a little bit of the history. And from our city's website, in 2013, the city received the highest A+ rating from the Sunshine Review Organization for Government Transparency. And in 2013, the Tulsa City Council actually adopted the Open and Accessible Data Resolution with direction to provide more data online and work towards a higher level of transparency. Just a few things from that I thought were really helpful is the reasons for that City Council resolution. Is committed to bringing the community into City Hall by engaging citizens and soliciting their ideas, input, and creative energy. The City of Tulsa was committed to using technology to foster open, transparent, and accessible government, and wanted to see increased opportunities for economic development, investment, civic engagement for citizens of Tulsa, wanted to improve transparency, access to city information, and wanted to enhance citizen communication. So what the resolution was to provide open and accessible data, establish the goal to continually work toward an increased range and volume of data it shares with citizens, businesses, and other jurisdictions, the greatest amount possible while respecting privacy and security concerns as identified by the city attorney. And so we had a lot of good information on the website in an open data portal. It's a little hard to find, but you can still find it if you search for it. Some of that data is rather old now, and I think one example that I would share is the 311 data that's up there. I think it's the latest update was 2023 for that, and that was kind of the call data. And so I think what we've seen is kind of this open data be better at certain times and then less at certain times. And in 24, we got the What Works City certification, which we were certified as silver, which meant that we're not in the very top tier, but we were past a lot of cities that weren't able to get certified. And one thing to move us to the higher tier, which is gold or platinum, was deeper public transparency. And so just a few things that have happened in the past that I wanted to bring up. The ordinance adopted, to Councilor Bellis's point, that was adopted in May of 26, was that the city auditor shall promote transparency and public access to information by identifying, collecting, reviewing, and providing data and records maintained by or for the benefit of the city of Tulsa. So it's got 6 directives in there. First is to identify all the data sets, and then second is to, maintained by the city of Tulsa. The second one is to identify all the data sets maintained by public trusts and authorities. And then 3 is to prioritize the collection and publication of that data. And I just want to highlight based on the budget provided, because as we look at doing this, we will need budget. And so review and prepare such data and records for release by organizing, standardizing where necessary. And then, let's see, making such data and records available to the public, coordinate when appropriate with city departments and officials. So that's what the ordinance called for. That's the directives we have now in my office. And so wanted to does anyone have any questions so far? Keep going here. Okay. So what does deeper transparency look like? One example is the Boston Open Data Portal. They've got a team that completes 60+ projects per year. Their Open Data Portal has over 251 data sets. They kind of range from property and housing, financial, where you've got a checkbook explorer, public safety, which is crime and 311, government transparency, geospatial infrastructure. So those are kind of the areas that we see in these open data portals. The Columbus City Auditor has a transparency portal, and that's on their own website. And that's their data hub there. Tulsa County is also pretty far ahead on the open data side. So they use OpenGov to push out all of their checks that you can review, the revenues, expenses, things like that in a very interactive way. And then I wanted to touch on what happens to organizational charts when city auditors take on other duties. And to kind of preface that, city auditors, we make opinions based on our audits. We have to remain very independent and objective when we do that. So we can't just stick people over doing administrative management type of work and then put them on an audit. They usually have to be out of that field for, I think, 3 years before they can audit in that field. So we have to keep the internal auditors kind of separate. And so there's a couple audit shops that I asked them for their org charts where I knew they had duties that were separate from just internal audit. One is Denver. They have a whole department that actually audits businesses for labor rights complaints. And so you can kind of see how they stack up on the lower right, where Denver Labor has about 37 employees that are investigating labor complaints on businesses in the community. But then they have their audit services, and so they separate them with different managers and then all different employees. The other one that I found interesting, oh, go ahead.
I just have a quick question. The Denver labor aspect of it, isn't that more like at a state level here?
Yes, here it is, yeah.
Okay, so it's not something that we would implement, it's something,
No,
yeah.
I'm not asking for that.
No, I'm just saying, I'm
No.
using it as
No.
an example. I'm
Yes,
just,
yeah, of different
There,
duties
yeah,
than just the
okay,
audit side,
okay.
yeah.
yeah, okay, thank you.
And then Portland, I would say that this is Portland, Oregon. They've been maybe struggling over the years a little bit, and so they actually had a commissioner form of government still, and they decided to go ahead and switch that to see if that could help on January 1st, 2025. And so when they did that, they went to a strong mayor's council form of government, and and a city auditor. And it was interesting to see kind of what they decided the city auditor's duties should be in addition to internal audit services. So they're doing the archives and records management, ombudsman, council clerk, elections, hearing office, operations management. So again, I'm not asking for those duties, but just showing you that they definitely keep them separate as different divisions within their department. Okay, so this is what I'm kind of proposing as far as what our department would look like for adding this other office of data transparency. So I wanted to kind of show that to you, to just get that in front of you now. And I'm not asking for this for this year, so I'll show you kind of my implementation plan. But this is what we're looking at for probably the next fiscal year. So what does City of Tulsa implementation look like? This is my proposed timeline, and I'm happy to discuss and talk through it, but what we would basically do is, starting in this next fiscal year, 2026, we would probably have Dr. Stout as the deputy auditor, working on identifying the majority of city data sets and current processes, identifying majority of ABC data sets, and then November prioritizing those data sets, and then in December coming back to you, presenting that prioritization. In the ordinance, it says it's based on, let me see if I can go back. The prioritization is based on the budget provided, input from the public, the mayor, and the city council, and the potential of such data and records to improve transparency, accountability, and public understanding of city and public trust and authorities' operations. So that's what we would come to you and provide. And then with that, we would give kind of budget options as far as like how much of this do you want to implement over the next years, build out our division policies and procedures, website positions, and then that next fiscal year, hire the team and implement. And that concludes the presentation.
Can we get copies or emails
For this
with
presentation?
the presentation?
Sure.
I would have really appreciate that. I would.
Oh, is it in the back?
It's in back.
Okay, it might just not have been when it was
Oh,
printed.
it's not, yeah, it's not in my backup today.
It might have just been added after.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, Counselor Bellis?
yeah, I'll be curious, so part of what makes me excited about some of like building out these data transparency portals is knowing some of the data resources we used to have as a city. This is pre-ransomware attack. I think a lot about, and you probably connect with this person already, but you know, like Carlos Moreno. When we had the urban data pioneers, we did have these rich city, like kind of data assets and maps and resources that were publicly posted, and they just never came back after the ransomware attack. And we also, I wish I could remember his last name right now. There was someone within the police department, Ben something, who was part of he generated some really phenomenal data and maps, and he would go to community spaces and just share them so that people could learn and understand about, different safety things or just police data transparency in their area, and it was really beneficial. And again, post ransomware attack, just all of those public facing resources just went away. So I do see this as a really good opportunity to create some more resiliency to data transparency, and then having it come from the auditor and creating that kind of neutral space for different data sets to be regularly publicly accessible is really exciting. I think kind of this question mark I have is, I remember when James Wagner, when he was chief of innovation and whatever it was, he was the one that was over that the Urban Pioneers group, the Data Pioneers group, and I think a lot of the functionality of that over time has shifted to, I think it's the OPSI department. So I do wonder about, this is just a question mark, like what are they responsible for? How does this potentially feed in to what you all do, acknowledging that these are very separate agencies and entities? It's just a curiosity. Yeah.
I don't want to pull Mike Miller up on.
Yeah.
But,
OPSI. Yeah, I just am not sure.
My understanding, because we had a question about that in our audit committee meeting, but my understanding is it's now the Department of Performance and Accountability.
Oh, okay.
And so it doesn't have that same kind of open data focus or
Okay.
even a data focus, really from like a, you've got like, I don't believe there's data analysts.
Yeah, you get to,
involved. Yes.
Yeah,
Are
that'll
you
just
coming
be.
to the table?
He is.
If I've been invited.
Yes, you're so invited. Well, and I just want to clarify, that's helpful to know. I didn't know that it had shifted away from that open data focus, so that makes this to me more critical about getting information out there, but.
So no, Mike Miller with Mayor's Office, City Administrator, we've had this conversation again at the audit committee.
You don't have to.
Did I mess everything up?
Yeah, you just turned it off.
There we go.
Just leave it.
Sorry,
No,
my apologies.
We just move that mic back and turn that one back on. There, no, just
Round.
both messing up stuff.
Lay it on its
So
side, on
I'm
its side.
Hold on.
still
There we
still
go.
kind of a rookie at this, my apologies.
No, it was back there, that's how it was before.
They know the numbers on these, so we don't ever have to touch them.
Okay, okay.
Just turn the
Proceed.
sound, just turn the sound up.
Maybe we should start over and you can re-ask the question and then I will be maybe
Yes.
locked in.
Okay, so the former OPSI office, now performance and management, it sounds like has a slightly different shift or focus from the open data element. So I think it's just understanding how that work does or doesn't align with this audit shift.
Yeah, so I think, thank you for helping
Yeah.
me get back. for
Yes,
this.
no problem.
We have some of that now with data governance through our data governance board.
Okay.
And Chris, I think, sits on that board, as a representative from the council's office. And we do have people that are doing that work. It's primarily through our IT department now. It's still being done, it's just maybe not separated out as a distinct unit, just due to the reorgs that we've done over the last few months, or I should say, year or so.
Okay, that's helpful. So I can see that, so therefore, so when you say data governance, right, I assume that has to do with, right, like data sharing, data governance across bodies or maybe external entities, which is definitely a bit different than, or even for performance management
Well, it'll
purposes.
be very helpful because,
Okay.
because this ordinance talks about the data that is public data.
Right.
And the data governance is really a great process in place to ensure that the data, that allows each department to determine what is public data. And then there's processes to
Okay.
work through that.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Right, we want to take very seriously keeping, citizen data, for instance, from becoming public data and when it shouldn't necessarily, so.
And that's where I feel it's important that we level set the expectation of
Right.
what would
Yeah.
be considered accessible, transparent public
Yeah.
data versus, because some
Yeah.
people might get the idea that I can start pulling data
Yeah.
for like public safety stuff and
Or
other things of that
311.
nature that have
Yeah, there's broader.
restrictions.
Yeah, I think that gets into pretty quick, like when things are aggregated and de-identified versus
Right.
like, you're right, more specific, like instances and the challenges there. Well, and I also am thinking about, since it came up in our last kind of discussion, one of our discussions earlier related to the trash contract and some of that, you also then end up separately with these other data sharing moments in private contracts, and I know data governance probably has policies there, so I feel like there's probably a lot of frameworks for that, compared to, so Nathan, just an auditor, sorry, out of curiosity, is it then like you would be able to like kind of pull reports that are generated from that from like within that data governance space to then just like share publicly once, if it's determined that it's all shareable, or is it that you all are then generating your own reports? I'm just trying, like,
Well, with open data, it's
Yeah.
a little less reports.
It's
and
more
a little
querying,
more
right?
data,
Yeah.
like at a more,
are you
row
planning
level.
Are you planning to then create a dashboard sandbox kind of situation, or?
I'm not sure yet on
None-
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could understand a
Yeah.
sandbox might be a bit much, but a dashboard could be a little, like, just like a Tableau or whatever, could be feasible maybe. Okay.
Yeah, and I would just bring up to Counselor Bengal's point, it says review, item 4 on the ordinance says review and prepare such data and records for release by organizing, standardizing, and where necessary, redacting or anonymizing information to ensure compliance with applicable laws. And then there's also, that was the main one, I think, that kind of goes towards that. I was trying to see if there was anything about what data is public, but, yeah. And number 3, the process of making sure that it's provided with input from the public, the mayor, and the city council, and that it has the potential to improve transparency, accountability, and public understanding.
Is that,
Yeah, I think so.
Counselor, your,
Yeah.
okay. Counselor Bang?
Yeah, so, almost got off track. So is there an intent to identify what is actually city-maintained data versus service,
Versus, what do you mean? by
subscription service data. Because I would assume that if we decide not to use a service from a specific vendor, who owns that data? Because there's historical data that I'm sure you would want to retain beyond a service subscription.
And that, I mean, almost everything is shifting to that.
That's why I'm saying.
data system.
That's, and I.
Because we're not
I'm very
maintaining
concerned about
server
that.
farms anymore,
Right.
because it's not as cost effective. So that's, are you going to be identifying those, and are we
Absolutely.
going to have some historical data retention repository that you or someone is going to be identified to maintain? You're shaking your head.
So each one of these agreements, I think, I can't address every agreement.
Right.
Each one of these agreements has their own way of how that's handled.
Yeah.
Right.
For data migration.
But still, that's
Pre
our
and post.
data, so
Yes.
is there the intentional, is there intent to draw up a policy about retention of that data? Even though we no longer subscribe to that service, that's still our data.
Right.
And I think that's part of what the data governance review
Okay.
team does.
Yeah.
Right? I think
I
that's
just
a
wanna
big part
outline-
of what they're
yeah.
working on, and I can get you more specifics on
Okay.
that at a later date.
And we're in the middle of a data governance audit as well, so
Okay.
that'll be coming out with some.
Great question, Mr. Vano.
Yeah, this stuff is
But
dangerous
if
if
you,
it's in the
Yeah, I
wrong
if you
hands.
see that on the
There's some cities passing
January,
policies
it's
around it.
Yep,
building out division policies and procedures. So that's where we kind of get into that side.
okay.
Counselor Archie?
Oh, I don't know if I have much else to contribute. I appreciate this. I guess there's a difference between available data and then usable data. And maybe Counselor Bells was speaking to whatever we come up with, you know, I just imagine from the user's end, a resident going on the website, being able to, I don't know, do an inquiry to, you know, find, you know, some sort of data, but do they understand it? Is it understandable to where they can use it for?
Digestible.
Yeah, digestible. You know, how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, usually on the open data side, it's really making it available for researchers and people to use the data to do their research. And so it's not as much like doing the research and showing it to them. I mean, that is what we do on the audit side a little more, is we come up with an opinion and a summary report. But yeah, for the open data side, it's more just pushing it out so that it can be used for research.
Okay, yeah, because when people use the word transparency, it's a loaded term. I feel like when people say transparency to me, they say, I'm a layperson, give me some sort of understandable presentation of what
Yeah.
a very complicated system is doing.
Yeah.
And so I think as long as part of what you're producing is that, I think it will satisfy people's desire for transparency.
And that is where, like, and previously, the data pioneers came into play where they could use that data and then it was all volunteer-based, but making those into presentations to be helpful to others.
Okay.
And that's where I think level setting of what this is going to be versus what people might think
Yeah.
it's going to be is going to be
That's why I wanted to get this
relevant.
conversation
Yeah.
started. So.
Okay, do we have any further questions or comments for Nathan? Nope. Okay. Moving.
I was going, I'd like a third color, please.
Moving on to item number 9, we are adjourned.
It's like you were doing.